So today we're going to be taking apart this 2018 MacBook Air. It's been used every single day for the past 365 days straight, and let's see what we find inside. But before we get into it, make sure to smash that like button because it really does help out. And of course, subscribe so you don't miss any videos. Thanks, guys. Anyways, I bought this MacBook Air in August of 2018, and I've been using it nonstop ever since. Of course, I have taken a few days off here and there when I was testing out other laptops. But for the most part, I've been using this every day, and I figured now would be a great time to take it apart and see how well it's holding up after all this use. Now, my goal with this laptop was to get 2 years out of it before upgrading to a new one, and I'm almost there. This will be going on its 3rd year in just a couple months. So I'm curious to see what kind of condition this is in, considering it's been used nonstop. Of course, this thing has seen better days. The battery isn't what it used to be, and the keyboard has quite a few signs of wear and tear. The power adapter is also starting to yellow around the prongs. So I think it's time for a change. But before we take it apart, let's go ahead and run some tests on it. I'll run through each test quickly, so if you want more information about any of these tests, you can check out the full review of this laptop where I explain how I did it and why I did it. First, I ran a hardware diagnostic test on it using Apple's built-in hardware diagnostic tool. And luckily, everything passed the test. So the RAM is working properly as well as the battery, keyboard, display, speakers, and microphones. Next, I ran a Geekbench 5 test on it to see how it stacked up against other Macs. In terms of performance, it scored a 1267 on the single-core test and a 3419 on the multi-core test. That's actually pretty decent for a 4-year-old laptop. It even beat out the brand new 2022 MacBook Air. I don't know if that says more about how good this old laptop is or how bad the new MacBook Air is. I'll leave that up to you. And last but not least, I ran an internet speed test. Now, since I don't pay for super fast internet, these numbers aren't anything special, but at least the Wi-Fi connection is strong and reliable. Now that we know the laptop itself is still in good condition, let's take a look inside. To take apart this MacBook, you'll need a Phillips head screwdriver, a pair of tweezers, a plastic spudger, a set of iFixit opening picks, and a pair of gloves. Now, the first thing you'll want to do is disconnect the battery from the logic board by pulling. On the pull tab, located on the bottom of the laptop, then remove all 10 of the Phillips head screws. Securing the lower case to the top case, use the spudger and opening picks to pry around the edge of the laptop. Be very careful when doing this, especially near the hinge. You don't want to damage those. Once the case starts lifting up, grab the handle and pull it away from the keyboard assembly, and there we go. We're now able to remove the lower case. Now let's take a look at the logic board. I haven't cleaned this laptop in the past 3 years, so there is quite a bit of dust on the fans. I wonder if this is the cause of the overheating problems I've been having recently. Let's find out. Using the tweezers, we'll disconnect the antenna assembly from the logic board. Then we'll remove the brackets securing the fans and carefully pull them out of their slots. There's not too much dust on the fans themselves, but there is quite a bit caked on the heatsink. I'm surprised the heat wasn't able to dissipate through all that. The RAM is also starting to yellow, which is typical after heavy use. These are just signs of wear and tear, nothing really worth worrying about. I'm a little disappointed to see that this 2018 Air doesn't have any upgradable storage. If it did, I would definitely replace the old drive with a new SSD to get this thing running like new again. There's also a little damage on the logic board itself. There's a burnt-out capacitor right here, and a few chips are starting to yellow. I wonder if this is normal or if something went wrong. I've never really looked at another logic board to compare it to, so I'm not really sure. Next, let's clean the fans. They're not super dirty, but I'm sure they'll run better once they're completely clean. Same thing with the heatsink. There's tons of dust on it. And I bet it's a lot harder to dissipate heat with all that in the way. Now let's put everything back together and see how it runs after all this time. It's been a while since I've used this MacBook without any modifications. So let me tell you, this thing feels sluggish. I can already tell that the battery isn't what it used to be. Thankfully, the battery is easily replaceable, and I already have a replacement battery on hand. It's a little difficult to access the battery, since the lower case is blocking the screws. But with a bit of patience, I'm able to remove the battery. It's slightly swollen, which is common after 3 years of heavy use. Remember to always store your MacBook in a dry place. If you store it somewhere humid, the battery could end up swelling like this. Before installing the new battery, I apply some thermal paste to the logic board. It's never a bad idea to reapply the thermal paste, especially if you're putting the laptop back together. And there we go. It's a much smoother experience using the laptop with a new battery. It's honestly crazy how much of a difference it makes. It feels like I'm using a whole new machine. The only thing left to do now is to clean the keyboard. This thing is absolutely filthy. There's crumbs and hair stuck in between the keys. I think the best way to clean it is to use a toothbrush. Now this isn't necessary, but I always recommend it for the best results. A toothbrush allows you to get in between the keys and remove any debris. I also use some eucalyptus soil to disinfect the keyboard. And there we go. Keyboard is looking nearly brand new. Now I'm going to go ahead and put the laptop back together and see how it runs. With the new battery installed and the keyboard cleaned, this thing feels like a brand new machine. I seriously can't remember the last time I've cleaned this thing. I'm not going to lie, it's honestly pretty disgusting how dirty it is. I'm assuming most of the dirt came from my dog. Likes to hang out on my desk sometimes, and he sheds a lot. Anyways, let's see if this thing still works properly. I ran through the same hardware diagnostics that I ran earlier, and everything passed. So the new battery is working properly. And that's all we have time for today. In conclusion, this MacBook Air is still in decent condition after being used every day for the past 3 years. The only real issues I had with it were the battery and the keyboard. Those two things really took a beating over the past 3 years, but luckily both of them are easy to replace. As for the internals, there's nothing really to worry about. Sure, there's a few burnt-out capacitors, but that's just signs of wear and tear. I think this laptop is still in pretty good shape. I don't know if I'll continue using this laptop or switch to something else. I honestly love MacBooks, but the recent releases haven't really been that impressive. I'm thinking about switching to a Windows laptop, but I'm not sure yet. Anyways, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, then make sure to leave it a like and subscribe if you want to see more. Thanks for watching. I'll see you guys in the next video.